Welcome to the conversation. Have you heard of a little game called DeadPoly? It's a zombie survival game akin to DayZ or 7 Days to Die, but has a unique art style and building system. It's an online game, however, server hosting is done on an individual player level. Solo offline play is where I've been having most of my fun, though playing with friends is a blast as well. It's currently in early access on patch 0.0.4d as I'm making this video. So when I say early access, I mean early access. Currently there is only one map available, and it's rather small in comparison to Chernarus or Deer Isle in DayZ. However, there is a bit of lore to be found. The developer actually stopped into my Twitch stream when I was playing this game and mentioned that there isn't much lore in the map yet, but I actually found quite a bit. In this video, we're going to cover 5 theories I found in DeadPoly. Warning, this video will contain spoilers of stories that may or may not exist in the game. This is all speculation on my part, as there are no missions or story in the game as of right now. You've been warned. Number 1. Post-apocalyptic raiders. Like any good zombie apocalypse, the ne'er-do-wells of the world would survive and thrive. And this city was no different. Found at a construction site and nearby power plant, blood-red flags donned with a black skull can be seen flying proudly over the dead. This is clearly a raider base. Their compound is surrounded by a strong, scrap metal fence with an entrance at the front through a shipping container. The base of the stronghold has a walkway around pits of trash and cars. There are also some benches set up near one of the pits, perhaps spectating a fighting ring? Tents and living areas can also be found with lookouts up above on scaffolding. The place is deserted, with only the walking dead left behind, but I have some theories about the place. The first is I think that they didn't immediately turn to raiding and pillaging to survive. The chalkboard counting the days, the tents set up, and the presence of toys like this dead squirrel toy suggests that perhaps this was a survivor settlement first, before it was turned into a raider camp. Or maybe it was taken over by maniacs after a certain amount of time. The second is that the raiders may be connected to some religious zealots in the area, but I'll get back to that later in this video. Some interesting things I found here was a unique cartoons mask, the toy I mentioned, as well as a folder full of documents. I couldn't read it, but it's safely in my base in hopes that one day it will be readable. Perhaps some scientific notes about what happened to the city or some plans left behind by survivors? Only time will tell. Number 2. The religious zealots. I can't think of any apocalyptic movie, game, or comic that didn't have religious crazies coming together to cause some kind of trouble, and DeadPoly is no different. Near the motel, one can find a quiet church with lovely sheets hanging about the building and parking lot reading "Judgment Day is here" and "Salvation for all." The door is wide open, and there's a fence made of metal, junk, and cars surrounding the parking lot. At first, the sight of Sanctuary was welcoming until I noticed the gaping hole in the back of the building, the pile of burned books next to the door, and... Yep, that there is a burned cross with a body on it, in front of pews, and a Bible or book of some kind on a podium. If you approach the cross, it's called sacrifice, and if you desecrate it, a ghostly apparition of a nurse, referred to as a banshee, appears and attacks you. So what happened here? I have 2 theories. The first is that the devout religious folks of the city, in a last-ditch effort, decided to try a human sacrifice to appease the god of their choosing, and maybe stop all this madness from happening or put the world right again. They grabbed one of their own, or a nurse from the local hospital, which we will cover in a moment, and burned them on a cross, as they watched, prayed, maybe sang hymns from the pews set up before it. Enraged by their life being cut short, as soon as the woman's body was burned, her soul, in the form of a banshee, left her body and attacked all of the people gathered to watch her die. Trust me, she hurts when she hits you, and also sucks the life out of you when she wanders around. After their demise, she returned to her body to find peace, but as we desecrate the body, she escapes and tries to do the same to us. If we defeat her, we get some great loot, including a sword and her tombstone. I like to think that we put her soul to rest, and the tombstone can be added to our collection of goodies that we earn in the game. The second theory I have about the religious zealots is that they became the raiders we find at the construction site. In the raiders' camp, we find a sheet with the words, "Judgment Day is here" on it, which can also be found near the church. This could mean that some of them joined the raiders, or the whole congregation became the raiders and took out the settlers at the construction site, as their church was attacked or fell apart as seen by the hole in the back of the church. But this is a rather flimsy theory, if I'm being honest. Number 3. Quarantine and checkpoints. One of the more interesting pieces of lore that I found was the idea that the city had checkpoints and a military presence before it was overrun by the zombies. The bridge to the city was destroyed, and the tunnels were caved in, cutting off the city from the outside world. There were also large walls to keep people in or keep people out for their own safety. On these walls, we find quarantine and warning signs, as well as military trucks trying to leave or enter the city. There is also a lot of missing persons posters. My theory here is that the outbreak took several weeks to affect the city to this level. People had time to create missing posters and hang them with the hopes that their family and friends would return unharmed someday. The military also had time to set up walls and camps around the city to help treat those that were sick, something that would definitely take a lot of time. The idea that the bridge and the tunnels were both destroyed might mean that the world outside of the city is actually safe and perfectly fine. Perhaps the government or the military just gave up on this city and moved on to protect the rest of the world, leaving it to its fate. Near one side of the city, we see a bunch of medical tents and military trucks, showing a triage or clinic was set up to take care of people. Radiation barrels can also be found in the camp, as well as a chemical shower and, well, a lot of dead bodies laid out in body bags or under sheets. What happened here? Well, the radiation could have been the cause of the dead to walk. We find barrels like this in other areas around the island, as well as hazmat suit wearing zombies. It's not a far-fetched idea that these chemicals were the cause of the apocalypse. The chemicals could also have been part of a series of experiments conducted to find a cure for what was going on. Either way, it didn't go as planned, as the checkpoint, like the rest of the city, was overrun and either abandoned or destroyed by the horde of undead. Still, a cool little area that shows what the people tried to do when the outbreak happened. Number 4. The hospital. The hospital in the city is one of the most overrun areas on the map. With ambulance and military trucks crashed out front, a downed helicopter, and bodies on stretchers and in chairs, this place was one of the most well-defended areas in the city, perhaps even the last to fall among all the buildings in the area. Here, you can also find one of a few shops in the area, the only NPCs in the game that aren't trying to bite your face off or rip you apart. My theory about the area is that this was one of the last places that the military tried to defend. It makes sense that they, along with the police officers and medical staff, would try their best to defend the sick and wounded. However, it's possible that the sick were the very ones that would bring about the downfall of the hospital. Being attacked from those undead from the outside of the building, along with those from the inside, may have sealed the fate for those trying to save the people from the inevitable. Number 5. The bunkers. Last but not least are the bunkers around the map. There are 2 on the outskirts of the city and are easy to miss, as they are just a door and a grassy mound. The key cards are also difficult to find. However, I did find one at the construction site. But when I opened the door, I was overrun by the undead soldiers inside. I couldn't go very far, but what I did see was barracks, beds, and living quarters. I intend to bulk up my armory and try again. I'll be sure to make a video of what I find down there, but my guess is that those bunkers were made well before the outbreak. For what purpose and what connection they have to the outbreak, I'm not sure yet. Perhaps they were conducting experiments down there that were leaked and started to turn people into the monsters we see outside? Are these bunkers the source of what caused the end of the world? Was this city the start of everything? I'll let you know when I get down there. And there you have it. 5 theories I have about DeadPoly. I really enjoy this game, and I'm looking forward to more being added. More maps, new items, and definitely more lore. Have you given it a try yet? If so, what do you think of the game? Do you think my theories so far are right or wrong? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for giving this video a watch. If you like this video, why not give it a like? And if you want to see more lore deep dives into this or other games, hit that subscribe button. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.